What an introduction.
You need to tell the people why we're laughing first, man.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, first of all, we're laughing because we're just sitting here talking smack, joking around, making jabs at each other, reminiscing on beautiful debates that we had last week. But also, we're laughing because this is the beginning of something big, baby, because we're live for the first time for the Woodward Piston show,
Yeah.
baby. We're here. This is a
Well, we're
huge
Pistons
moment,
show.
man. So super excited to be here. We're here with our boy Kool-Aid and Jeff Iafrady. Man, look at this. This is like an awesome Neapolitan ice cream looking thing we got going on right here. I like it.
Yeah. Look. Obviously, great things come out of the mouth of Sean when he opens it, man. And I love it. Look, I couldn't be more excited to be doing this with these guys. Wait, we got Downtown Deuce in the
hey,
my guy.
Yeah, he's gonna be one of our producers, one of the people helping us out behind the scenes, probably sometimes on the camera, especially whenever we get this move up to the big leagues. Adam, Stick, Joey.
Absolutely.
One day.
Absolutely. The existence of the show already puts us in the big league because it's just a matter of when they put us in the stadium. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you. I hear you. But look, you guys have seen us already on the Draft Lottery show. You've seen us on the draft show. You're going to be seeing a lot more of us come Pistons season. We're going to be bringing you some of the most unique Pistons coverage that you're going to be able to find. Hey, I love whatever Sean's got going on over here. Hold on, man. These comments got me.
I know. I died at that. I just laughed at that. Okay.
Together brings Neapolitan ice cream. Or we could just go, the Neapolitan Podcast. I'm just kidding, but
actually kind of flows well,
man.
Though.
Listen, but
tasty.
it's gonna be the perfect blend of entertainment, analysis, content, and we're gonna be bringing some of the best creators and voices in the Pistons community, namely beat writers, reporters, people that have been around a long time, and we have people in our back pocket like Terry Foster, like Everything King, like Lexi, like that, like the Downtown Deuce. We have a lot of awesome people that are a part of what we're Pistons. So we're just incredibly excited to get this show started and to start a new era for Pistons content because we're ready to bring it to the next level and set the standard for what Pistons content is.
Yeah. And Jeff, man, what do you got to say about it all, man? How you feeling?
I'm excited, and I think Sean hit it right on the head. The new era of Pistons content. It's more options for people, and I think we love doing this. We love live streaming. We love tweeting, making content about the Pistons. So why not be a show with all of us, like we kind of do already? I mean, we make enough content together. It's about time we get an official show and chop it up. So I'm excited. I think people are going to love it, like they've been loving these streams we're doing so far, and I'm excited, man. I'm just ready to get to work. Because we got a lot of things planned, and we got a lot of people we're hitting up. So
Kool-Aid, we're gonna have to make a theme song at some point. I know you and Deuce probably have some things cooking up, and I know there's a Woodward Pistons mixtape on the way.
The guy.
But I mean, for now, I mean, I can always provide the temporary jingle. I can always just go like, "Hey,
Kanye West
in the Woodward Pistons show." You can do like
look,
those things.
Little T-Pain action.
Look, no lie, Deuce, bro. If you're still in the comments, man, let them know we were talking about this today. Kanye West, bro, we got to have you on the collab.
Kanye West.
Kanye West is definitely hopping on the collab. Don't you worry.
We have to.
Yeah,
we
Kanye West will be there.
Just for eye candy.
I'm on the out.
Oh my god, man!
You have Jeff in there just holding on to the basketball, like.
Listen, if I'm gonna step up in a booth, I just need like you ever heard of Froggy Fresh and Moneymaker Mike? Like that's like his I need Jeff to be my Moneymaker Mike. I just need him standing there, just like his arms crossed, not even saying a word, just looking cool.
That's
like just have the hair out, just have that swagger ready to go, man.
Hey, every musician needs a hype man. I'm in the back.
Man.
I'm in the back. I'm getting hype. All right, that's what it's gonna be, man.
Dude, listen, Jeff. You're just my hype man in general. That's like.
All right, hold up. That is true. That is true. That is true.
I mean, hey, we're each other's hype men. You know that.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right though. We hype each other up.
Oh yeah, without a
They
doubt.
not ready.
No. Yeah,
No, they're
but
not.
no, they're not
They're not.
ready. They ain't ready at all. No, but seriously, man,
Oh, yeah, what?
we're just excited to get this show started and excited to talk about what's hot in the Pistons community. And guys, I don't think there's a more exciting topic that we could be starting this show with than the reported return of the Teal. The Pistons Teal is back. According to reports, ladies and gentlemen, there were leaks via, oh my gosh, man, that horse logo just playing with my heart. But
It's coming back, bro.
some mock-ups that were shared by Pistons Brazil revealed some potential Pistons Teal jersey mock-ups, and reports suggest that they could be revealed as soon as Tuesday. So with that, we have some jersey mock-ups that we can put on the screen right here. Obviously, starting with Cade Cunningham. I was saying this with Jeff, and I want to start with this question.
That's going to sell out.
I was going to ask, what are
For
the
sure.
odds that this becomes a top 10 sold jersey in the NBA this season? Because if Cade Cunningham has a breakout year 2, this genuinely could be a top 5 jersey sold in the NBA this season.
That's going to sell out.
Yeah, like hotcakes.
How is it not going to be? It's going to be one of the most unique jerseys to come about for a young cast of promising players, man. Like that looks crispy, man. I don't care. Like, I know what it represented, you know, the what most people say it represented, the era it did, but these guys look like they're ready to just completely change what that means. And I love the Nike logo on there, man.
Well, but Kool-Aid, but here's the other piece of it, though, because I understand like that era had losing basketball, but like despite that, we still have seen Pistons greats don the teal. I mean, Grant Hill donned the teal. Joe Dumars at one point in his career donned the teal. At one point, Ben Wallace was donning the teal. You know what I mean? Like, so to me, like, I understand like they weren't winning games. And I understand that like people talked about how ugly they were. I knew Grant Hill at one point said that he thought those jerseys were ugly. I don't care, man.
Now I'm saying he's actually kind of for him. I'm gonna try and find that quote, but there was somewhere where he was like, you know what, basically like F it. I'm gonna reach out to Keith to see if he has that.
Here's the thing, man. He made it cool. The Pistons that wore it made it cool, and you know what? It can represent something new with this new era of Pistons, because it's not just Cade, it's Ivy that's going to be in the teal. It's Sadiq Bey.
What are you doing to us, Sean? Oh my gosh, brother.
It's Sadiq Bey that's going to be in the teal. But guys, beef stew teal, guys,
hot, man.
are you kidding me, dude?
Oh yeah, this is fire.
That beef stew teal might be an instant day one cop. Like if I can't get the Cade or Ivy, like obviously those are going to be the ones that like everyone's rushing to, or even Duran, I might have to get my hands on an Isaiah Stewart teal jersey, because that is fire.
Horsepower, cars, Motor City.
Yeah, exactly, man. It's the power of the Piston. It's
the whites, yes, they are dope. I love the whites. They're super dope.
Yeah, 100%, man.
I love
and with that, I'm just excited for what this means. And guys, let's talk about the fact Big Sean, if this is true, he made this promise a couple years ago that not the upcoming year, not the next year, but in a couple years the teals would be back. So and then the red alternates were hot as well. Those are fire. The one with the horse logo, the red alternates were sick.
Here's the question. What's the order? What's your top 5 order? Jerseys, teal jerseys, if they come out, what order are you guys going to purchase the jerseys in?
I mean, Cade's going to be the one that's going to sell out in under 20 seconds. Yeah. I mean, it's like, good luck. It'll be fun.
Ivy too, probably.
Yeah. Ivy as well. That's going to be tough. But I mean, listen, I'm just saying, of all the starters left, a Sadiq Bey teal jersey is by no means a consolation prize. That number 41, Sadiq in the teal, I have a feeling is a 50-point game in the making. I feel like he could get a second career 50-point game in a teal jersey. That's something I could see happening. So,
I feel like he's gonna gun for it in the first time they wear them jerseys.
Oh, and that's the thing. Like they talk about how like this team talks about how they want to have their identity on the defensive end, but they've also said how they want to throw lobs. They want to be fast. You know, they want to have their own identity as well. And I think I think these guys are going to embrace wearing the teal. I think these guys are going to love having these types of uniforms. And guys, here's the other piece about it that we're not talking about yet, because the jerseys are going to look sick. Imagine the court design that's going to go with it. Imagine the Little Caesars Arena, what that's going to look like on a teal night, dude. That's what I'm saying, dog. Imagine opening night, they bring out the teals, the teal court, that Pistons logo at center court. Brother, oh my goodness, dude. It's just, yeah, you know what? You're right, Kool-Aid. What am I doing here, man? It's episode 1 of the Woodward Pistons show.
Let's go. Let's go. And you know what
in the world am I doing here, man?
So look, non-starters, what non-starters, what's that order looking like? Because the one that I really want, Isaiah Livers.
Oh yeah, but Jalen Duren, the Duren number 0 teal, that's gonna be a fire jersey as well. Especially if he comes out. I mean, I feel like a Marvin Bagley teal jersey could be a collectible item as well. I feel like that's something that could be hung up in the rafters of all-time weird NBA memorabilia things to own. I feel like that could be in the Mount Rushmore of that list.
Hey, we got the Killian fans.
Oh yeah, but I mean, also the Killian teal would be a pretty good one to get as well. I mean, the Killian fans, of course, they're gonna buy anything Killian.
Come on, Deuce. We're having a great time.
Deuce trying to get yelled at by King.
We're having a great time.
Table talk.
Until you drop that.
Hey man, Killian's getting a lot of love in the comments, man.
I mean, guys, who's gonna get that Kelly Olynyk teal jersey day 1? Who's gonna be copping it, man?
Dude, I want my Saban Lee. What are you talking about? Can we get the teal with Saban Lee on it?
Yeah, wait. Sean's killing me, dog.
Come on, man. You're wrong for that, man. That's just wrong, man.
Man, yeah, look, in a lot of different scenarios, y'all, I can keep a straight face. Sean is one of those scenarios where I'm just like, yo, he's going to get me in trouble. he's gonna get me in trouble, man.
Hey, if I'm getting you in trouble, Kool-Aid, that means we're alive for a good show. That's all I'm saying. But with that, I mean, all right. So we know that teals are coming back, right? But there is a lineage, I would say, of all-time great Pistons uniforms that I think deserve a shine and a chance to come back. Someone already said it earlier, but the red alternates with the Pistons logo, I could see that being a direction the Pistons go next year for that. Yeah, dude, a Steve Blake teal jersey. That's a custom order that's got to happen day 1. That or a Carlos Arroyo teal jersey, that would actually be fire. If someone actually got a Carlos Arroyo teal jersey, that would be sick.
Wait. Here's a better question. How many Pistons do we even remember from the teal era?
Man, that's a good question. That is a great question.
I remember Lindsay. Lindsay was there.
Yep. Lindsay was there.
Y'all tell us in the comments. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, tell us your favorite under the radar teal Pistons, man. Give us your ranking. But Kool-Aid, what are some other Pistons uniforms that you would like to see come back? I know one that Jeff and I both absolutely love are the Thunderbolts.
Yeah,
the Thunderbolt jerseys are. Yeah,
but the Fort Wayne Piston jerseys, they were so clean and simple. I think it is an old back to where they were originally, and I believe it looked dope. That clean, I think it was like a powder blue, if I'm not mistaken, the Fort Wayne ones.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Let me see if I can find those. But
yeah, I think I have it right here. I could share it on my screen.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right, got it right here. Boom. Are those the ones right there?
Ooh, lightning bolts there. And where do you see the Fort Wayne?
Oh, let me look up the Fort Wayne ones.
Yeah. Man, no, the lightning bolts is number 1. If we have to bring back anything, it's those lightning bolt ones. But I'm trying to see. Yeah, those blue ones. That because it was kind of based on what the Pistons, red, white, and blue, the original Bad Boys kind of scheme was. That right there. Grant Hill wore that. Grant Hill, he had that for a throwback. But that one, I think that one's so clean.
Yeah, I think those are super clean too. I definitely wouldn't mind to see like this logo get a comeback at some point. or get some homage as well. That original Fort Wayne Pistons
Oh my
logo
God.
is awesome.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing, man. Like I understand that it's not like that, like you want to like generally pay homage to like the winning eras, but like those are generally the uniforms we wear every day. The red, like the white and the blue, like they're like those just aren't the fun uniforms from our history. And I don't think there's anything wrong with bringing back eras of Pistons basketball and celebrating part of Pistons history, and quite frankly,
Yeah.
bringing new meaning to them as well, because
Bingo.
that's something that this young group can do if they embrace the teal, which I think they're gonna embrace the teal. That's going to be something that can spark and really ignite a Pistons fan base throughout the league. So I'm really thinking this is going to be a bandwagon league pass team throughout the country. I'm excited.
Let's go. Hey, we got some answers in here to our question. Who was in that Teal era? And we got some people. Hey, they remember Terry Mills, obviously Mike Curry. Hey, shout out to we got the late Bison Daily.
Bison
shout
Daily,
out Junkyard
man.
Dog.
Absolutely. Adam, come on, man.
What's Adam talking about, man?
Sean likes bringing things in the back. Come on, man.
I can put that one on. Adam's getting smarter about how he puts these comments through. I can put that one up on the screen.
Oh my goodness. But I'm excited to see those come back. I think the Fort Wayne Pistons definitely deserve an homage as well at some point. But I think the cool thing is that we have, I think one big thing when we talk about what Tom Gores has done, we talk about Troy Weaver and everything that he's done on that side of the Pistons organization. But guys, let's talk about what Big Sean has done already since coming to Detroit, as far as the branding of the team, the culture that the team has taken, the way that they're ingrained in Detroit businesses and in the community. It seems to me like it's just been night and day ever since Big Sean's taken over his role and has been part of the Pistons organization. And it just seems to me like the team just understands Detroit at a level that it just didn't 3 years ago. What are your guys' thoughts?
I think it's important to let even the players speak too. I've noticed that they've shown a lot more of the players and their gear and such, and I'm wondering if that is Big Sean saying, hey, let your players speak their culture in and of themselves, because I know that's that vibe that Big Sean is on, and we saw that change with the Pistons social media, with the way the Pistons were capturing the video, with the way that they said, you know what, these are our stars. We are on Woodward Avenue. Let's act like it. That's why I love that whole player cam entrance thing. I love the fact that they said, we know where we're going. We're going to set it up now. Let's do it. And we've seen Big Sean go out there and put his whole brand on the line by repping Pistons gear in big magazines, big photo shoots and things of that nature, interviews, and going out there on the draft coverage and welcoming the draft picks and things of that nature. Like, I love that stuff. I absolutely do, because he's from here. We know Big Sean loves the Pistons, especially people from, around my age group who knew him. Like, man, he loved the Pistons. He loves the Pistons. So it's awesome. It's awesome. And you can feel it, with the way they just kind of let the players do their thing and it highlighted. I love it. I love it, yo.
And he loves Detroit as well. And he's still around the city. And he knows, who's relevant in the culture, who's relevant in the world. And the fact that we're ingrained in the Detroit rap scene, and that we're, involved in what's going on in the city and businesses that represent what's going on in Detroit. Again, it's just, when we talk about everything that's changed in the way that the Pistons have impacted and embraced the city, it's night and day over the last couple of years compared to what it has been. So, not only is the team restoring on the court, but I would say off the court, they're doing a lot of things to really up their reputation and their pulse in the city and just everything. It's the best time in a long time to be a Pistons fan. It really is.
Yeah. What you feeling, Jeff?
And I think that's why these jerseys are so significant too. They have a chance to rewrite history. And I think also I got to give, if people aren't afraid to criticize Tom Gores, you got to be not afraid to praise him too. And I think bringing on Big Sean, letting Troy Weaver work and not being over his shoulder, trusting who's in charge. And me and Sean kind of chopped it up earlier about this too. Like, good examples of great leadership is bringing in people that to help with your weaknesses, with their strengths. I think having Big Sean, it's been a tremendous impact. He understands the city, he understands also what the fans want. And if you're on Pistons Twitter, I know it's been a conversation with these teal jerseys, but listen, I've been on the side. I've wanted them back as well. I know you guys have. So obviously they're listening. And I think these jerseys, if you look at the Pistons young core, notice how all of them are on board with it, and look at their ages. You see where I'm getting at. Like, this is the new era. They have a chance to rewrite it, and I think you have the perfect the players in place too. Especially like if they only have them for this season, it's going to be exciting. No matter how many games they win, you're get to see Jaden Ivey in crew, Cade, Sadiq, Jalen Duren, all these boys go at it. So it's going to be a good season, man. I'm excited.
And you know that they're going to be excited on those nights in particular to don the teal and to have exciting plays. And this is a team that's talked about how they want to have an identity on the defensive end, but they want to be on the fast break, getting buckets, getting in the transition, throwing lobs, getting dunked. So this is a team that wants to be exciting. And I think this is part of what's going to help make them really exciting. Is going to have these types of uniforms and looks to them.
Yep, and trust me, I get some people's angst. I saw the Pistons playing those teal jerseys, the white ones, the burgundy ones. I saw the red, white, and blue ones that Grant and Joe D played in too, which are crispy. Those that Grant Hill and Joe Dumars played in, those got to make an appearance at some point in time. But the reason why I'm excited about these teals is because there is a whole generation of lost Pistons fans, a whole generation of them. That generation is starting to get excited, and for whatever reason, those teal jerseys are what resonates with them. They resonate with the team. They resonate with even other players around the league. We see people in off season wearing the teal shorts. You know, people repping the Grant Hill teal. Jeff, we talked about it on the pod. I went down to Alabama. I've been to other places since then, a couple other states where I see people repping the Grant Hill teal jerseys. It's just it's a fashion statement. For some reason, it's something that is just starting to click and pop. And the fact that the young players actually want to be the ones to rewrite that destiny and that story, I kind of want to see what they're going to do. Like, part of me is like, you know what, then? Go out there and let's see. See if you can help us, you know, come to some type of a piecemeal with this, you know, with some of the older fans who remember those jerseys, remember that time. It was not a pretty time. I got a side there. It was not a pretty time, man, especially with everything Grant Hill was going through in his ankle. But with what this team is talking about doing, I can't even put that one up. But with everything that this team was talking about doing, you know, this team was talking about doing in these jerseys, I'm like, you know what? Let's see them.
Yeah, and it's all subjective too. Like jersey, people when they say they like this jersey or like that jersey, it's really all subjective. Like I don't think people who say they don't like teal, you're not right, but you're not wrong. Like that's your opinion, and that's fine. But like we were talking about earlier too, like the Grant Hill jersey, everybody knows a guy with the teal jersey. Like I know a guy. Like I feel like that is despite what you think of the jersey itself or the era of basketball, the jersey still sells. And I think what a great time to bring it back. And for all the people that said it brings back bad memories, I'm sorry, have the Pistons been winning the last couple of years? Like, are we in a winning era anyway? It doesn't matter, bud. You go out there, you throw on the teal jerseys. It's going to be exciting. So I love the timing of it, and you bet your ass I'm getting one. Whether it's Jaden Ivey, Cade, those will be sold out, but I'll be looking for a Duren.
Look, I am drinking the Kool-Aid on these jerseys. Hey, shout out Woodward Sports. I was happy they gave us all some shirts. So I've been like loving on this thing. I'm like Jalen Duren with his Pistons jersey. That's how I am with this shirt. Thank you, Woodward Sports, man.
Yeah, I'm just my wallet is just like shivering right now, like waiting for what that price tag's gonna be like. It's just gonna be like, it's so cold. It's so cold out. So please be sure to subscribe to From Half Court to help fund the Sean getting teal jersey fund. But in all seriousness, with that, guys, let's carry on the conversation, and also let us know what jerseys you want to see the Pistons bring back in the comments down below as well. But with that, gentlemen, Kool-Aid, you and I had a little bit of a kumbaya last week about Andre Drummond on Thursday. Specifically, we had a little dance, if you will, talking about Andre, and we're not here to debate today. We're not here to yell.
Yeah, that's what you think. No, I'm just playing.
You're like,
don't speak too fast.
Yeah.
Let's see where it goes.
Yeah, but in all seriousness,
is everybody reading Adam's comment at the same time?
Oh yeah, I'm just like that's just if Adam's not ripping on somebody, he's not doing
Oh
his
no, he's
job.
he's 100% right on this one.
Yeah,
I feel
for
him.
sure. But we were talking about specifically Cooley. We were talking specifically about Andre Drummond and when we think ultimately was the beginning of the end, what ultimately led to those shortcomings and failures and everything that happened in the era. Like, listen, and it's not that we're just wanting to talk all about Andre. It's not it. It's that we feel like there wasn't really any content or any adequate content that was describing this era of Pistons basketball. And so we feel like in order to actually talk about this current chapter that we're in, I feel like we have to close that former chapter as well.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, I think it's fair to have a conversation of when was the beginning of the end for Andre. And for me, it was the Joel Embiid Andre Drummond rivalry. And it was when Joel said he had free real estate in his head. Now, yeah, the iCarly girl stuff was cringy too. Everything that happened
Dog,
there, you're not wrong. That certainly didn't
that
help his case.
that didn't help at all. That didn't help at
No,
all. I
no. What are your
no,
guys'
I'll let you
thoughts?
expand on your point.
Yeah. So
That
so here's my thing with the Joel Embiid situation specifically. Joel was like, "Oh, I got real estate in this guy's head. I own him mentally," which he did. And every time they faced off, you could tell Andre was a shell of himself. But in addition, you could see what Andre was working on pregame, what he was working on postgame, what he was working on Instagram. All you saw was Andre trying to handle the ball and expand his game from beyond the arc. And it really looked like he was trying to imitate and try and be a version of what he wasn't, which was more like those centers that are under the ilk or made of a Joel Embiid type. You know what I mean? Like that type of more playmaking, ball handling, guard like skill with with that type of grace in a big man's body. Andre Drummond just didn't have that. That just wasn't who he was as a player. And if
right.
he actually spent less time working on shooting beyond the arc, if he spent more time working on defensive intensity and defensive instincts around the rim, if he spent more time focusing on the skills and sharpening what he was already good at, I think he actually would have had a better career. But I think ultimately he got wrapped up and distracted in some of that drama and some of the beef that he was in. And I think it kind of consumed a lot of his attention in what really mattered.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. It's just like he wound up making all NBA after that. After the whole real estate thing. He wound up making an all NBA team after that encounter. He wound up making playoffs after that encounter. And he proved to be, for large stretches, a better free throw shooter, a better defensive player. We saw blocks and steals go up, and we saw his points go up, points per game, and his efficiency. Now, we saw him wane at the end of the season. We saw him wane at the end of games. And a lot of times we give players like LeBron James, rightfully so, they were tired. They had to do this, they had to do that. And no matter what anybody says, Drake carried the Pistons when Blake was injured. He carried them. He was tired by that playoff run. Now, look, he should have never been paid as a max player. We can get that out the way. He should have never been paid as a max player. That set his expectations at a level that I just personally already accepted he was never going to meet. I thought he was always going to be the serviceable player that we knew he could be, but paying him that money probably just set things off on a tangent. Now, I think Joel Embiid started the seed of real estate in his head, but exactly for the reason that we don't see Drummond getting paid big money anymore is, I think, the reason why he's actually started to work. I think he knew, despite it being from Joel Embiid's mouth, Joel Embiid is right, bro. The game it's passing him by. And that's what I think he tried to do. I think he tried everything in his power with contract years coming up to prove to other teams that he could be something else, because the only team that was going to actually work with him or should have worked with him was the team that drafted him. Every other team, they just signed him based on, are you a fit or not? And that's where I say it's really in the beginning of this whole thing. You know, if Killian Hayes, and we talked about that before, was brought up into a situation similarly, it'll be no hope. Especially if he was allowed to just run the franchise for like almost a decade. There'll be no hope. There'll be no hope. So it's just like, yeah, he ain't meet no expectations, but I don't really know how much of that I'll just put on him. I guess that's where I sit. And I think that's a good place to where, at least for me, that's a good place where I just kind of like wrap it all up, man. It's like he was done. He just wasn't done right by the franchise. And that's
right.
what it really
failed.
does.
He was failed from the start by being put in the position to be a max player. The problem was Andre also wanted to be a max player, and Andre embraced everything that came with being a max player until it was actually time to go out on the court and be that guy. I think
development wise.
What's that?
I mean, just development wise, nobody was helping him. Nobody was telling him to do this or be that or switch your trajectory to this or that or don't work on this or we need you to work on this. This is what we want you to be. This is what we don't want you to be. Nobody was in Drummond's ear doing that except for Joel Embiid.
Do you know that for a fact?
From everything that I was hearing,
because a part of it,
Rod talked about it a little bit too.
Part of it has to be with it. We like as much as I want to blame the Pistons, and you both make great points. Like at the end of the day, I can't help but blame the player. Like Andre's talent, you can't deny this. Andre's talent, he should have been a 13 to 15 year starter in this league. 13-year starter. Now he's a backup at what age? Like that's what's appalling to me for Drummond and his skill set, his talent. Why? Do we question? Are we going to blame everywhere else he's been? Are we going to blame like it? Eventually, you have to look yourself in the mirror, and that's why I agree with what you're saying, though, Kool-Aid. I think in Detroit, that's where it was damned if you do, damned if you don't. He walked into a situation he should have never been in, and of course, Sean brought up a great point about his mentality and what he thought of himself as a player. But again, like it's self-awareness. And I think that's what Andre was missing, because if he was self-aware and knew what his strengths and weaknesses were, I think he should be starting in this league. I don't think there are 29 better centers because Andre is a walking
standpoint
from a talent perspective,
from his intangibles, from his athleticism on paper.
You're telling me
should
be a walk-in 15-15 guy, like he needs to
what
be
he
starting.
could have been as a big, like not like who he is now. Like as far as like the player he has become. Ultimately, who he is now, he should not be a starter in this league. Like I think we would all agree from what he is right now as a player, he should not be a starter. What we're saying is who he was young as a younger player, what he was as a prospect, who he was from a talent standpoint. He should have been an all-NBA center for multiple years. He should have like talent-wise, he had the potential to be a damn good center, but it came down to what was in here. And that was questioned from the beginning. Like, I mean, when you look at like from like the scouting, like the number one thing that was questioned like from scouts, and like whether you want to say it's right or not, but the one thing that was even brought up during the draft, scouts questioned his passion. He just did. I'm not saying that's right. That's just what was out there on him, right? So I think, with ultimately, I think Kool-Aid, like you said, I think there's a lot that can be said and a lot that's true about the fact that Drummond came into an environment, he was given a contract that he shouldn't have by an owner that paid a guy that he shouldn't have paid because he wanted to have a star player on his franchise, and he thought he did, but he didn't. And the reality is he didn't ultimately live up to that contract, which, like you said, Kool-Aid, shouldn't have surprised anybody. I don't think it did. But the problem is that I think at the same time, I think to like Jeff's point, there does have to be some onus on the player as well, because it is a two-way street.
That's where I've been trying to ownership speak up on it, y'all. I gotta speak up on that. That's why I gotta speak up. You guys keep saying the onus has to be on the player. I don't. That's where I guess it loses me, and I think that's where eventually it's getting lost in translation. Is this what did you expect of him to magically shoot threes? Like no. I expected Drummond to be when we realized what the situation was going to be. Before he got that max contract, I knew that was a bad decision. I knew then, like all the guys that play like him have gotten phased out by the era. It's not a Drummond thing. It's those guys. Even like guys like Clint Capella have become less valuable to their teams. Those types of centers, and you go across the league and look from guys like Jonas Valanciunas and others, unless they have some way to contribute that they've shown that they've had like a propensity to do, then they just got phased out. I didn't expect
What?
Drummond to add a 3-point shot. I didn't expect Drummond to add handles. I didn't expect him to become a playmaker. I didn't think that handing him the contract was going to instantly, even if he had max power to go out and train. I never believed that he was ever going to get those skills. That's just me. So I thought instantly, this contract is dead on arrival. This is not like, oh, it's on the play. No, that's on the owner. The owner made a dumb mistake to pay a guy who should only been getting maybe $15 million a year. And that's what he was worth. And
I agree with that.
And you see centers like that. Yes, you can start them, but on good teams, they're not starting. The thing is,
Rudy Gobert?
Rudy Gobert just got traded from his own squad because they realized we are capped.
He got traded for a lot of picks, though. His value,
they traded for a lot of picks.
Traded for was insane.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story, but they still said we can't win with him.
And can we bring up this, Charles? Good point, Jeff. I know the game has changed, but look at Rudy Gobert. He is currently starting with a hefty contract. Like you can say, and trust me, I'm not a Rudy Gobert fan at all. Me and Sean have talked about this in plenty of videos. But I will say this: Minnesota is a Rudy Gobert fan. You mean to tell me from what Rudy can bring defensively, and I'm not saying Andre was ever going to be Rudy Gobert, but you can't tell me Andre wasn't gifted in areas where he could be a great defender. Like that's where I get the offensive thing. I don't expect him to be Joel Embiid. I'm not saying that. I didn't expect him, but I did expect from a it goes back to being self-aware. We love Isaiah Stewart. He gave us 8 points his rookie year, and I was excited. Like everybody knew, and he couldn't even shoot yet. Look at one season. 2 seasons, added another shot, and now has a 3-point shot. Like now we can get behind Isaiah Stewart even more because he's expanding his game and whatever. Maybe Andre didn't have that. Maybe it never clicked for him. But still, I think there is an argument for self-awareness, and I think it's like Sean said, it's a two-way street. It's ownership, but it's also Drummond as well. So
have you guys seen
love
the
Drummond,
head numbers between Andre Drummond and Rudy Gobert, Andre Drummond and Miles Turner, Andre Drummond and most centers and bigs in the league? Have you seen the actual head-to-head numbers and what he did in those games versus those other centers like Rudy Gobert, who has never averaged up to that point 10 points per game?
The head-to-head numbers don't mean anything, though.
No. Listen. The reason why it does matter is because Drummond's playing on the team. We can talk about defense all we want, and we love on the winning aspect of things to talk about how much of a team, how much of devoid superstar talent, but a just absolute base team our bad boys were and our going to work Pistons were. And we talked about how the defense is based on the fact that they are a connected team, a talented team, smart team, individuals who were superstar and all-star talents who were coming off the bench in some cases, starters in their other teams coming off the bench like Corliss Williamson and Vinny and others in our championship teams. Andre Drummond did not have anybody on his squad playing defense. None of the guards were playing defense at all.
He was fine, but that doesn't excuse him from many of the times where he just stopped playing defense.
Anything, brother. We're talking about why couldn't he be Gobert? I don't think we ever got the opportunity when he was actually at a position where he wanted to try to actually see him do that. I don't think we ever saw him in a team where it was like, hey, this situation is putting actually good young talent around you. We're not going to miss on our draft picks. We're putting good defenders around you. So you actually have the opportunity to take your league, as a center, you have the most blocks and steals out of any other center in the league. I wonder what that is if he's on a better defensive team. I wonder what that is if he's asked to do less than he was on the Pistons, which had nothing. And that's what I'm saying. We stretched the guy who should have never been in that position thin. And then we sit here and say, oh, my goodness. And it's just like, well, what did people think? If you blow up a balloon too big, it's going to pop. Drummond was an average player, an average starter at best. So if you pay him the max, I'm sorry. You have made a mistake. We have to already look at the talent evaluator. We have to look at the fact that the era and the changing them over. We have to look at the other centers drafted in that same time and look at the fact that they all fell off one by one. Gobert is much more dynamically gifted player than Andre Drummond on both ends of the court. And his instincts are just better, and you can't teach instincts. Andre Drummond was a player who went from like 6'7", from like 6'2" or 3 or something like that, to like 6'9", grew like 6 inches.
The one part I would push back. I'm
setting the stage because I remember how much just my training mattered from high school to D2. Drummond literally went to college, and that 1 year of college at UConn, his coach got like sick or something and didn't even coach him. And they did not care. They said whatever, and they just let Drummond do whatever he wants. Then he goes to the NBA, and Joe Dumars, for whatever reason, drafts him. I'm just like, these are the problems. Like, we drafted a player that probably shouldn't have been drafted there. paid a player that probably shouldn't have been paid that. That's what the problem is. If you want me to blame the player, okay, I'm mad at Andre Drummond for not possessing something I didn't think he possessed before. That's what I'm saying. I never believed he possessed the things you guys are blaming him for. I never did.
So the only thing with your argument,
the player has a limit. Does that make a sense? Like, if he's an average player, he's an average player. We look at guys like Mike James. We don't expect Mike James to be Chauncey Billups. We take Mike James for who he is. That's all.
Mike James. Okay, go on, Sean.
No, I'm just stating. Like, you guys believe that because Joe Dumars. So, that would be like holding Darko to the same standard. Like, did we believe Darko was going to be something great?
But
like,
Darko didn't have like 17 and 15 multiple seasons, all NBA teams. Like, you can't sit here and now walk back and say, well, I never thought he'd be anything anyway. Like, at the time, we never thought he'd be Joel, but he was a damn good
player. I didn't walk back anything. Anything. His peak is what we saw. And if they put more around him, maybe we see more. But his development and the lack thereof in the beginning creates a bad foundation that crumbles over time. My faith, that's my principle, bro. That's how I ride everything with my kids, with my work, with Woodward Pistons. You build a strong foundation, and they did not do that. If you guys want to sit here and say those foundations don't matter, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. All we're talking about right now, restoration, is about building a strong foundation.
Don't matter. Where did I say that? What are you talking about?
There was nothing there. There was nothing there. There was nothing.
I agree with you on that.
That's all that I'm stating. I did not expect anything from Drummond. So when they paid him, I was like, that's a mistake. That's what I'm saying. At that point in time, as a max, let me clarify. As a max number one or number two player, I believed once that contract came due, I believed that Drummond at best, and you could find the receipts, was a number 3 player at best.
Okay. Yeah.
Not worthy of that contract. That's the thing. So it's like, with the perspective there, I'm not sitting here having these conversations like some of these fans who are like, oh, he got paid. Yeah, he's going to be a max player magically. It's like, this is not magic freaking beans that grow a beanstalk or make you fly. It's not fairy dust because you got a contract or because you got drafted 10th. Drummond is just one of the few draft picks that just didn't peter out. Him and Tayshaun Prince over the last how many years before this Troy Weaver era? That's it. He just was average enough to not peter out.
Right.
That's the thing. That's how I feel about Drummond. I didn't expect him to be number 1 or number 2. I expected him at his peak, if they put everything around him, to be
the one flaw with your
player.
Argument was calling Rudy Gobert dynamic on the offensive end. That was the one part.
He's more dynamic than Drummond.
It's all done.
Rudy Gobert. Okay, that's like saying
where to be on the court. That makes a huge difference, man.
It does.
It does.
Are you also saying
turds versus manure? They're both terrible.
So you would
I would take Rudy Gobert on offense, man. I just would.
So what you're saying is it's a mentality thing with Gobert, right?
I think Gobert just has better instincts. I think instinctually he knows how to play that style of basketball.
Oh,
Drummond never
how he approaches the game mentally.
What'd you say?
That's how he approaches the game mentally.
Who? No, instinctually.
Rudy Gobert, you think how they approach the game mentally matters?
It's like a hitter has a hot zone. It's like when you play something that long, Rudy Gobert was trained to play basketball that way. It's how he's played all the time he's played basketball.
But he accepted it, and he was
willing.
If I'm an NBA player, okay, he was never taught that. But if I'm taught that, I retain it. And I work on it, and it's something that just gets drilled inside of me. You can't tell me that I can't learn basketball instinct.
But is that something you can teach, though? That's my question.
Teachable.
Like, you can't teach like a motor.
Wait, what are you guys getting? Like, I don't know what you're getting at.
Go, Sean. You're already talking about it. I mean, you're hitting it on the head. Just go on. The motor.
What I'm getting at is that's exactly what we're trying to say, is that motor, that mentality, the way that they approach it matters.
Put Deuce's comment up here. That comment right there is Gobert is more polished and he knows who he is offensively.
That's what I've been saying, though.
No.
Yes.
Drummond never knew.
He's been trained to play basketball that way, so he knows what he is when he steps on the court. Drummond don't know what he is when he steps on the court because he's never been trained. He's just always played rec league ball. He was never
But
coached in college.
that's where it
never
is, though.
coached in the
That's
NBA.
where it is, though. You completely take away his mental approach and take away and completely discount how he approaches
No,
and his
I'm saying
mental,
coaching
his
matters.
mental
I'm saying
shortcomings.
development
Oh,
matters.
well, he
I'm
was never
saying your
taught, so it's not his
trainers
fault.
matter.
He never knew
That's
it,
what
so
I'm
it's not his
saying.
fault. So it doesn't matter. And you're completely absolving him of any fault or any criticism. But what we're saying
I
is,
didn't
is that
absolve him
motor
from
doesn't
any
matter. At the
criticism.
end of
I
the day,
said
it
his
also comes
average
down to
player
how you
didn't live
approach
up
the
to his
game,
contract,
Kool-Aid.
bro.
It also matters. Both can be true.
When did I
Both
absolve
can
him
be
from
true.
criticism,
Yeah,
bro?
actually,
What
we're
I'm
not.
trying to say.
Hold up.
When
Hold
did I
up.
absolve him from criticism, bro? Like seriously, like
we're
this is
not.
getting weird, bro. When did I absolve Drummond
No,
from
this.
criticism?
Hold on. Let me.
I'm
let me
saying
butt
he has a cap on what he can be. You guys are saying he shouldn't have a cap. I'm saying he just does. So deal with it.
That's not what
No,
we're
that's
saying.
not what we're saying at all. That's not what we're saying
That's
at
literally
all.
what you're saying. You're saying
No,
he should
that
have
is not
the
what we're
mental
saying at all.
capacity
What we're saying is,
like
is
Kobe.
that the
To
what
go
we're
out
saying
there
is he
and
should
be
have been a
something that
starter
he's
in the
not,
league
and
longer than
sprout
6
wings to
years
be a
is what we're
blank
saying.
snake. Like that's what you guys are saying. I'm just sitting here legitimately
We're saying he should have been a
saying
starter
he has
longer
a
than
cap.
6 years is what we're saying.
What'd you say?
We're saying he should have been a starter longer than 6 years is what we're saying.
He probably should have been. If he was with Detroit and the team built the right way, he probably would have been. And he would have been if they would have started him from day one, which they didn't.
So your argument,
and they played him like 10 minutes a game.
He had multiple different like situations.
What do you mean my argument though? That's what I'm saying.
No, your point. And let me explain this because I think I know where you're going with this. When I say this, when he went to LA, he was set up to succeed in LA. You're telling me you're playing with LeBron James, AD, who can space the floor, and all you got to do, you got to roll. You have to fit into that role. Mentally, it is a challenge you got to fit into the role with a championship level team. Man, they couldn't wait to get him out of there. And that's my problem with
he looked like Drummond from the Pistons. That's what I'm saying. He went
there,
there,
but he's being coached by different coaches.
Bro. You don't get coached
one
on
thing
the fly,
stays the
and all of
same.
a sudden you're doing things you've never done before. That's all I'm stating. If he was instinctually a pick and roll player and taught that, not force fed it by Will Bynum, who was throwing just crazy all types of lobs, and his pure insane athleticism can just get it.
True.
Like that's what I'm saying. He was never taught this. He's not instinctually like, boom, I know the ball's here, I can boom. I like playing on multiple levels of basketball, bro, and talking to many different ball players. Instinct matters, man. It matters. That's why people practice hundreds upon hundreds. Why you hear Ryan Broyles? I mean, not Ryan Broyles. Yeah. Whoa, what a name. Son guy, Amon-Ra St. Brown. You hear him talk, and he had an interview with Prime, and he said, listen, I catch 200 and something my balls because I'm a receiver. I have to go out there and practice it and catch it. He was taught that by who? His dad at a young age. Who was Drummond taught that by? Nobody. That's what I'm saying. It's a difference. He was just out there playing YMCA league, just so happened to have measurables, just so happened to get picked up by like probably the only college that was really going to pick him up like that. You know what I mean? He had a lot of buzz. Then it started to wane when he hit this growth spurt. Didn't really look like he could play anything. Went to UConn and did what? Kind of fumbled his way around. The things that they saw at UConn, we saw with the Pistons. He was never taught anything. Gobert literally came up in like what NBA academies, man. Like some of these players are coming up being taught this is what you will be. They're being taught this is the mentality to have. We talk about Jaden Ivey. He came up in a basketball family with a person at a young age to put the mentality in his head. That's what was missing. Drummond just never had it, bro. And when you get to the NBA, they tell you, and like with college, they tell you, if we have to coach you certain things, it's too late. Then we just have to put you out there and hope you can go. Sekou got drafted without ever being taught how to play the game of basketball. He had just learned it. He's out the league not because of his mentality, but because he just doesn't know how to play the game of basketball.
And that I can agree with.
That's the reality.
That narrative and that understanding and that ideology, that I can 100% agree with, because like you said, it's not just about, and that is the difference between a Joe Dumars and a Troy Weaver, is that it's not just about drafting the player, it's about drafting the people as well. And I've talked and I talk and go back to all the time about the secret of winning basketball. You talk about, like, Bill Simmons talks about the secret to basketball in the book of basketball all the time. And the number one thing is that the secret of basketball is that it has nothing to do with basketball. It's that it has to do with the team dynamic, about what comes first, the mentality, that special type of character and that special type of person. And I think we can all agree that Andre just was never that person. Yeah, that's Weaver. Okay. That's okay. Like, and that's not like an indictment on him that he wasn't that person, but it's just like, that's the importance of drafting and getting the right people in the building, and that's why
Exactly.
we can see the success of the draft now, and that's why guys like Sadiq and Cade and Isaiah Stewart stick out so
And why
prominently.
are they here? Because Troy knew them in high school. He knew them in middle school. He knew them in college. He helped these guys get into their colleges. He knows exactly who they are. He knows their pedigree. He told them, work this way. Some of these guys that you hear them, oh, this guy told me work this way. I worked that way. Now I'm here. This was never done with Drummond. He was just a dude who got lucky, bro, who just, boom, hey, I'm here. He wasn't like, yo, I'm the basketball circuit guy. I have basketball in my pedigree.
He was the
I'm
guy
being
that hit
brought
the
up in
growth
NBA
spurt.
Academy.
Right.
I'm going to all the camps. I'm being trained to be a center. That wasn't in him at all. And he was considered a project when they drafted him. And the coach, what was it, Frank, didn't want him. Just didn't want him. Didn't really play him. Started off getting 5 to 10 minutes a game, playing behind Greg Monroe, bro. That was the reality. And honestly, before anybody found out it was too late, that he was not going to be what it was trajecting to be, if the era kind of stayed the same, then Jeff, I would agree with your point. He had the mentality to be that center. Where the NBA went, he had the mentality to be a backup center, but instead of accepting that role, this is the one place I will give you. Instead of accepting the role of backup center and being an absolute dog at that, that's where he lost himself.
Yeah.
He should have just, after he left Detroit, he should have just accepted that aspect, and he didn't. He still wanted to shoot and pout for I'm a starter and all of that. And a lot of the things that people complained about that for years, I want to say, look, I don't really think that's indicative of him as a player in Detroit. Well, they instantly become true. Like you say, you go to LA, you want to see him do certain things. He's not capable of doing those things, and it matters.
Yeah, and if he embraced that type of role, if he was like that Dwight Howard role that he accepted, embraced what he was, that he could go get rebounds and get and catch lobs and be that type of big. Like, I think that's what people were expecting out of Drummond when he went to the Lakers, and that's why people were like, "Oh boy, Lakers are about to repeat." But then he crumbled under that pressure, and we saw, kind of that Andre in the playoffs, that kind of like you said, who he expected. And I think that's kind of what I'm getting at too. Of that's who I expected him to be. And I think I saw a comment earlier where it's yelling, where it's like me and my wife when we yell at each other, but we agree. And I think that is the thing. I think we do largely see the Drummond era in a very similar way. But I think that is an interesting and good thing to bring up, is that you do have to look at the background of the player and who he was, and those things do matter. But at the same time, I think that is I think it is the thing of like Jeff and I saying, like, you can acknowledge his shortcomings, you can acknowledge his the things that were the flaws in his game and the holes in his game. And I think what you're saying is well, didn't we know that from the beginning? And I think that's valid.
I agree. The shortcomings are there. I wanted Drummond to be the guy to develop a 16-foot jump shot at the very least, so he can pick and pop. I didn't want him to ever really try and be a three-point shooter. I just wanted him to be like Boogie Cousins. If it's there, be able to at least be serviceable enough that the defense is like, yo, we got to remember he's out there next time.
Right, because we've seen guys do that.
He faded on. Now, he did pick up on perimeter defense. He did not pick up as well as I thought he would be on one-to-one defense, though his help side defense was serviceable. But as it relates to the things I wanted him to be, no, he didn't hit those things early enough. And when he finally got Reggie Jackson and Brandon Jennings and all of that, I thought, okay, maybe this is a chance to get things going. And the 1 year that I absolutely loved the way he played when he had that dog mentality, who did he have on his team as an assistant coach? Rasheed Wallace. So a coach. Wait. And we got a center on our league who comes from the school of dunk everything. And he was also coached by, and he gives credit to who? That same guy. Now, Duran got it in college. What if Drummond got that in college?
Yeah. And in addition,
we're talking something completely different right now. If he wasn't told, just go down there in the paint and just do whatever you want to do. Look at his UConn tapes, bro. I don't know what Joe Dumars was looking at to say, yeah, that's the guy.
I would like to know, and I'm going to get out of here in a little bit because this has been a great conversation, but I would like to know, is Drummond the only player in the NBA that didn't have great college coaching?
No, a lot of guys are out the league. A lot of guys are gone.
Are there guys still currently in the league? That's my question. That's all I want to know. Because I get the lack thereof of coaching at the collegiate level, but I can't let him get off the hook. I'm sorry. I love Drummond, and I agree with everything you've said, Kool-Aid. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I just think you can't.
I think what Jeff's getting at, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that ultimately it's the environment that caused Drummond to be who he is. But ultimately, at the same time, he never had the awareness and the onus to actually change.
And ability.
Yeah. He never.
Duran will change.
Yeah,
that's the difference.
Like with Duran, he has the mentality of a guy who's coachable, who wants to come in and learn, and he's come in under that tutelage. And granted, maybe it helped that he had those guys day one, but at the same time, at a certain point, you have to also choose to have to want to be that way too. And I think that's what Jeff's getting at.
If it's taught to you, and I come from just a culture where if your perspective isn't one where you're able to see something, you will never know that it's even available to you, let alone how to do it. And I'm telling you, Duran was taught it. Duran is younger. If Drummond was taught that, Drummond came in as also the youngest player in the draft. Was Duran the youngest player? But their starts were different. Duran was taught to play center before he got to Memphis. These things matter. So Duran is not going to stay the same. Duran's going to have the ability to get better because Duran already has that trajectory in his game from an earlier standpoint, and that matters. It's why we pick certain players that we do in the draft. We say this guy's more NBA ready. We say that. We say this guy has this coaching, this pedigree. Sadiq Bey has what? Nova pedigree. We say this stuff all the time. But when it comes to Drummond, all of a sudden we say it doesn't matter if he had Nova pedigree or not. It doesn't matter if he has coaching pedigree in his family or not. It doesn't matter if he had connections to NBA or not. It doesn't matter if he was on a real AAU circuit or not. It doesn't matter because he didn't have none of that. It didn't matter if he was playing small forward senior year and then center, with no head coach for college the next year. All of a sudden, those things don't matter for him, but everybody else, this stuff matters. We draft players based on who they were coached by. The Pistons made a big deal at Jaden Ivey's draft induction press conference about his pedigree. These things matter, y'all. And that's all that I'm saying. When you don't get it early, when you're in the thick of it and now you're on the racetrack, it's hard then to learn how to drift if you haven't done that before. Now all of a sudden you got to do this on the fly. He going out there thinking it's about 3-pointers. And that's all I'm saying. The criticisms, they lie in the fact that you didn't do it. You didn't adapt. And that's why this is your prize. Your booby prize is the fact that now you don't get nothing. That's how I look at it. Like, bro, you don't start. Now you better find some way to be a heck of a backup player. So the criticism is there. I'm not sitting there saying, let him start. He deserves the money. Oh my God, Drummond, this and the other. Nobody's pining for Drummond. No one's taking up for Drummond. We're just saying, if we want to talk basketball analytically, we sit here for months, Jeff, talking about why it matters that Troy Weaver knew these people and their pedigree and who they were then. Because we didn't want the guy getting popped in his jaw. We wanted the guy popping other people in their jaw, which was Cade Cunningham. We saw that when they were young. Do you know what Drummond was doing when he was young? Because I saw the tapes and it was like, why, Joe? Why did you draft him for this and not put him on a plan that could take advantage of what you saw on tape? That's what I'm saying. There were guys paid millions of dollars to do that, and nobody did it. Nobody did it. And so that's just my perspective on it. You want to criticize him? We can sit here all day long and criticize. This is exactly it. He was a glorified role player. That's what he was. He wasn't supposed to be paid that contract. And if Drummond was paid less, I believe we would be criticizing him less. I do. Yeah. If Drummond was paid less, then if that's the case, then we put a cap. If he was given $15 million, we're not sitting here talking about Drummond the way we are right now.
Okay. And I want to go back to that comment, glorified role player. Yes, he was because of up here. Like, I don't think I never sat there watching Andre Drummond for those early years in Detroit after he became a starter and his growth. Sitting here, he's still a role player. The guy's a walking 17 and 15, guys. All NBA. I'm not going to let him get off the hook by saying he was always a role player. Yes, he was. He's a role player now because of this. He doesn't have it.
He should have been that from the start, is what I'm saying. He should have been Clint Capella.
He had the talent. He could have been a star. He was a star.
What makes him different than Clint Capella then?
Clint Capella's another one, if you want to bring another one to the table. Like, Clint was a serviceable starter for years.
Who just never got a max contract.
His lack but hold on. But his the ability to adapt, which we talk about with Andre Drummond, and also it's a mentality thing. I think Clint, you could put him in a similar atmosphere, maybe not as bad, but in that atmosphere of Andre Drummond, where these guys aren't willing to or not self-aware. I'll say that because I know 100% he's not
that you
self-aware.
believed that Drummond, if he put his mind to it, actually had the ability to be something that I just didn't believe, even if he put his mind to it, he could be.
He could have been a career, what was he as an average? A walk-in pretty much 17 points, 13, 14 rebounds.
I just don't think he possessed the skills in this era to maintain that, I guess. I mean,
he could have been better than 50% from the field. I mean, we'll talk about that for the player he was.
He had to have been, if he controlled his shots more like Ben Wallace. He could have been.
Like if he was more again, this all goes back to my point, self-awareness. If you're self-aware, Rudy Gobert self-aware, 65% field goal percentage. He knows what he's good at.
But we're not winning with that on the court. We're not going to win.
He's not your franchise player anyway. We agree.
Center.
He's not but a starting center on a great team. Now, if you surround him with Drummond with talent, this is where we agree. He was in a bad position because he was your number one option, but he never should have been. But again, it's like, even if you believe he'll be your third option when you're winning, he's still at the time, and maybe it's because of the situation. I agree with you.
Here we go. Let's see. Tim Duncan is praised as the big fundamental, and it makes a difference. He was taught the game at a young age, play a certain way. Shaq said, I was taught the game at a young age, play a certain way. Chuck says, I was taught to play the game at a certain way at a very young age, bro. Drummond wasn't taught nothing. He has no fundamentals. When you go out there on the basketball court, you instinctually play. You start doing the moves that you do. You don't think, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. You can see Drummond visibly thinking with his back to the basket. Left or right. Then he would just do moves
17 and 15. It was pretty
practiced that he had just practiced. Whether or not he had checked the defense, he would just bloop, bloop, block. You could tell he's not comfortable doing this, no matter how much he practiced it, bro.
So Kool-Aid, are you saying that Andre Drummond could go out there and put up 20 points and 20 boards and have no impact on the game?
No, I'm saying that those 20 points and 20 boards matter to possessions. Do you understand that 20 boards is 20 extra possessions for your team, buddy?
Absolutely. But that type of impact is the point I'm making. Like, I don't want to sit here and bash Andre Drummond.
Team started boxing him, bro. Team started focusing solely on him. You can look at the tapes, and if you're not going to, and I did, if you're not going to, this conversation ends, bro.
What about in Cleveland? What about in LA?
They loaded up. What do you mean
about Philly?
In LA? As a bench player?
He's playing with better players, Kool-Aid.
As a bench player? He
was a starter in LA. He's a starter with and arguably the greatest player of all time on his team in Anthony Davis, and he's still useless. He is in the best situation. And you can argue, after Detroit, his mentality was changed. But why? Kool-Aid, he had multiple different head coaches. If I go through 7 years of shit coaching and I go to another situation, shouldn't it just click? Like, all right, I'm away from this bad situation. Let's get to work. Why do we have to say victimize him? He was stained.
The second coming of Shaq, bro, and he's not. Andre Drummond is a 15-10 center who should have never been starting and will never start and was never going to start for any championship team. He got paid to start on like he was.
Okay, yeah, I'm not going to argue that.
He was not.
No, I'm not arguing that.
Come on. What did you want? I'm sorry that you guys thought that Andre Drummond could be or should be something different just because Joe Dumars drafted him there. But apply that same argument to freaking Darko, dog. Both sucked. Neither was going to be a championship.
Can I ask you something?
Sorry. Darko was a championship center, not a championship starting center. But that's the reality of it, man. That is the reality.
One thing, gentlemen?
I didn't expect nothing. After he left here, I really didn't expect anything.
Can we agree on one thing, gentlemen?
But it's your guy. Okay, go on.
Here's one thing I think we all can agree on. Yeah. Thank God that era's over. like I just want to say, like, since the moment we saw the Golden State Warriors put out a lineup of dynamic shooters, and we put out a lineup of Greg Monroe, Andre Drummond, and Josh Smith, was the moment that we knew that we were in the wrong. Because when the NBA was zigging, we were zagging, right? It was from that moment that we knew that it was a failure, right? No matter what Andre could have done, if that was the ultimate solution strategy that they were going out with, we knew we were objectively cooked, right? I think we all can agree on that. I think we all can agree that we're grateful that we're in an era that instead of building around a guy who I think say what you will about Andre Drummond, but it's clear that none of us had actual faith he was ever going to lead us to the promised land.
No,
right?
Never want to.
We got a kumbaya. All right,
Never,
I'm
never.
not
Like,
disagreeing
what do
with Kool-Aid.
people
I
need
just
to
think
hear? He
give him a
dominated his
give him a
head-to-head
little too
matchups
much.
every single night. He dominated
I
those
was
matchups. He
trying
did
to
what he had
bring us
do.
together.
That's all he was. That's what he was. He was an average center at best. Gentleman.
Average center. Okay, you know what? This is where I get you.
I'm
But
talking about
this
his
is all.
feet. I'm talking about what he was going to be as a consistent center in this league.
So
I never
Kool-Aid.
believed that Andre
So
Drummond was
Kool-Aid.
going to ever be a consistent all NBA center, bro.
No, not consistent. I didn't
So
believe that.
Kool-Aid, would you agree then that so you're saying that he was an average center at best, right? So would you say that
From a
what he
consistent
did on the
perspective,
court, it
as
didn't
the
really
era
have a whole lot
changed.
of impact on the game?
Yes, for just playing your role.
So,
those guys
so
have
you're
an
saying
impact.
that he could go out there and put up 20 points and 20 boards and have no impact on the game? Like I've been saying this entire time.
Nobody's saying that, Sean.
Oh
Nobody's
my
saying
Lord.
that,
Well,
brother.
with that, gentlemen, I think this is a great episode of the Woodward Pistons.
Adam said he was garbage,
Yeah,
not even average.
Adam
He had zero
in
impact.
the
Bro.
chat saying, Jeff, what are you saying? What am I saying? Because I would love you to challenge me on that, Adam. He had zero impact. I completely okay. Listen, the zero impact thing, I'm going to disagree with. I'm sorry. I'm with Kool-Aid here. That is the most. It may be not. It's not impact on winning, especially, but to say no impact and you got 20 and 20, like I just can't get behind that one. But we'll end it here. All right, we'll end it here. I'm good. Because Adam, I can't get on that train.
Well, gentlemen, hey, here's the good news: is that we're not covering the team in that era. We're covering the Pistons in the modern era with guys like Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, Sadiq Bey, Jalen Duren, Dwayne Casey, Troy Weaver on our franchise. So we have a lot more great things coming up and a lot of positive conversations to be had. But this is a good time of the year and a good time to actually reminisce. And I would agree in the sense that Andre Drummond at his prime had as much of an impact on the Pistons winning as Russell Westbrook as a Laker did. And with that, we want to thank you all so much for tuning in.
Wait.
I didn't have a championship team around him like Russell, though.
Wait.
I'll tell you.
Wait.
I'll put that in.
No.
But go on.
What's up, Kool-Aid?
Nah.
What's up?
Look, I will forever have Andre Drummond's all NBA third team in playoffs hanging in my rafters. It'll be up there soon. I will all forever have that at least.
What do you
Just to
believe that he
honor
was a top
the fact
15
that
player in
this-
the league that year?
Just to honor the fact that this young vagabond, not meant to be anything player, pulled himself up by the bootstraps, man. He wasn't supposed to be anything, but like I say, cool out the league in a year or 2 or 3. But he found a way to give us 20 and 2. He found a way to give us the dub on Ben Wallace's jersey retirement night. At least we got that, man. At least he found a way. Andre Drummond. To find his way into the Pistons record books. He wasn't even supposed to be there, bro. If he wasn't drafted by the Pistons, given that opportunity to just sit there and prove he didn't belong.
All right, this Drummond talk is going to make me jump off my roof, so we got to wrap this one up. Right?
Well, with that, we want to thank y'all so much for tuning in. This was episode 1 of the Woodward Pistons show. Be sure you're following and subscribing and supporting Woodward Pistons because this is merely just the beginning. We're going to be having so many more guests, friends, people joining and talking all things Detroit Pistons in the city of Detroit and rocking the community, and we're all here for that. We want to be at the forefront of Detroit Pistons coverage, and that is what the Woodward Pistons show is all about. So be sure you're subscribed, following, and in the know on what's happening. With that, we want to thank y'all so much for tuning in. We'll catch you guys on the next episode of the Woodward Pistons show.
Hey.
Catch y'all later. Be sure to subscribe.
Hey, let's go, man. Till next time. Want to say anything, Jeff?
Deuces.